Hello all, today I am going to talk about how to complete any presentation within 5 minutes. See, first of all, Article 14, I give you example here, right to equality. Article 14 of the Indian Constitution which states that the shall not refuse any individual within the territory equality before the law and equal protection of the law. Now, the first expression equality before the law, which contained in Article 14, is taken from English common law. Equality before the law is a declaration of equality of all persons within the territory of India, implying thereby the absence of any specific privilege in favor of any individual. Article 14 of the Indian Constitution states that the state which is I just mentioned is not denied to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the law within the territory of India. This means that every person shall who lives within territory of India has the equal rights before the law. That equals will be treated equally. In modern times, the rule of law was propounded by the Albert Disraeli as British jurist and philosopher. Now, in Article 40, there is a two concept equality before law and equal protection of the law. And this is the right that both citizen and non citizens here they can enjoy. As well as we will discuss here the concept of equality before the law and equal protection of the law, its meaning, origin, relation of the Indian Constitution. Now, in this, the I mentioned here for the distinction between of how equality before the law and equal protection of law that it is a British origin, whereas protection of law is the American Constitution. It's declare that no one is above the law, like rich, poor, whatever. As well as equality protection of law is a similar people should be treated equally, whereas equality before law there are no specific privilege granted to anyone, whereas here is also the treated under the same condition, both terms of privileges granted and obligation imposed by the law. As a result, that it's indicate that the government can be take affirmative action. All persons are subject to the ordinary law of the nations and ordinary law of court, whereas here is the same laws apply in the same way. Equality before law is a negative concept, whereas the equal protection of law is a positive concept because it's make the state responsible for the preventing rights violation. Now, for its equality before law, as a clear I mentioned earlier, a distinction between it's a negative notion. Why? Because it is a proclamation of equality of all person inside the territory of India, meaning that the absence of any privilege in favor of any individual based on the breed, greed, or other factor. Whereas this concept is does not imply total equality for everyone, whereas Article 14 assure that treatment that is compared but not identical. Whereas equal protection of law here is main important that the exception that to equal right to equality which has been reaffirmed by several of the courts decision and are also stated in the constitution. For example, like here for the president or the governor, no court may issue a warrant for his or her arrest or imprisonment. No member of parliament shall be held accountable for anything said or wrote in parliament in any legal process, which is mentioned in Article 105. Whereas Article 31C, where states that you implement directive principle of state policy, whereas Article 939 is not subject to disputes because it violates Article 14. And of course, I mention here for the latest case laws, whereas state of West Bengal, so start from the state of West Bengal in 1952, then Ram Krishna Dalmia for Joseph Singh. Balsara state of Bombay, this is very important because this case has categorically mentioned whereas civil employees and military employees as well as the foreign tourists and Indian nations would not be unlawful. So it, of course it's come in Article 14. Now, Ajay Hasia is a landmark case in under Article 14 where it's mentioned by the Supreme Court that the courts laid down a test of determination that this determination has to follow each one of the case where it's come under Article 12 as well as Article 14, whereas the test of reasonable which type of case we have to manage and corporation like society like instrumentality or whatever. And of course this is regarding for the agency of the government and therefore whether it would be considered as a state or a purpose of Article 21, Article 12 of the Constitution of India. So thank you so much all of you. My all conclusion is that despite the Contrasts between the concept of equality before the law and equal protection of law both aspire to achieve legal equality, opportunity, and justice. Thank you so much.